So after having all these conversations, right, about the evidence of, and then looking in the Bible, seeing what the Bible says about God, seeing what actual evidence in the world is, and coming to that conclusion of, okay, this is fake, and if he is real, he's super evil, right? The three who are one but are three but are one. Then it starts to think like, well, what's going on with all this other stuff? So that's kind of where my journey went next with this whole leaving Christianity thing. It was like, okay, so I remember casting out a demon, right? And I had to think about that. I was like, I know all this is fake, like 100%, like completely eradicated belief in that. And I was like, all right, so it's fake. So what was that? And I asked the question, and the answer just kind of came to me over time. Kind of just I'm watching a lot of videos on different things. I'm paying attention to how people act and just kind of how things go on in this country, and seeing brainwashing, right? Because just like a cigarette is, whenever you smoke more nicotine, it's only trying to relieve the withdrawals that the first cigarette created. So it's an endless loop. You wouldn't even have that desire to smoke another cigarette if you hadn't smoked that first one. That's what Christianity is. It's brainwashing, right? So what are they doing? So you can have nicotine from gum, you can have nicotine from chew, you can have nicotine from smoking, from vaping. There's different sources of nicotine, from a patch, right? And what some of these doctors have said on YouTube doctors, but they're actually doctors in real life too, they said that, why would you use the same drug that you're actually trying to detox from while you're detoxing from it? Like, why would you use the same drug? You have to go cold turkey and let your body eradicate this. So it's really interesting to hear the Christians are like, oh, I got to go get filled up at church. Oh, I got to go. God's got to touch me. God's got to come inside me. Oh, Lord, touch us on this Sunday. And it's like, oh, we have to go get filled up. I got to go get my Jesus fix. They literally say it with their words. They're literally addicted to a drug. They would never have to keep going back to church and reading the Bible if they had never initially had the program implanted in their head, the brainwashing, which says, I'm going to hell. I'm simply bad for existing. I need to be punished, so I have to constantly keep doing this thing to maintain this. So they're actually not even, and then it's really funny how they'll actually say like, oh, like, I don't have any fear, like, God loves me, I'm God's child, blah, blah, all this stuff. But it's like, then why do you have to constantly keep like repenting? Why do you constantly have to keep crying all the time? Why do you have to like go Shabasate, whoa, Lord, oh, Lord, my monty, oh, boo. Why do you have to keep doing all this stuff then if like you're already like God's child? Like, what parent out there is ever like, child, you have to constantly tell me how much you love me, you constantly have to tell me everything you're doing, blah, blah, blah. No parent is like that, right? Unless they're a psychopath, and that's the one you try and get away from. So I looked at that, and so this kind of comes to a point, and I want to put this in here, is the demon possession, right? So we know all this is fake. We know it's just an addiction. It's an addiction to a story. The story is, I'm going to hell for all eternity. I have to do this stuff so that I don't go there, and then I get to go to heaven and to go to Golden Magic City and worship God for all eternity. So what is a demon then, right? So it's like, okay, well, they have all these signs, right? They have all these like whatever, miracles, they'll say. So I cast a demon out. This was about 10, 11 years ago. I actually wrote the dude and talked to him. I actually reconnected the dude whose house we were at. He wasn't home at the time, but he was one of the leaders in the church. And he reconnected with me recently on Facebook. So that was kind of interesting because it was like, this kind of brought it back to my attention. And I was thinking about it, and then my friend was showing me some other videos of these demon exorcisms happening in a church. And I was like, well, how is this happening? Because the person's obviously, this is weird, right? Like there's something weird here, but I was trying to dissect the situation, and I think I figured it out. So when you have like an inadequacy, right? And I know what it's like to be a Christian because I was a Christian for 30 years. So I would go back and say, let's say, oh, I want to have a girlfriend, or I want to have a wife, or something like that, right? And I say, God, give me a wife. God, give me a wife. And it's like, I keep asking for it and I'm not getting it. I'm going in there. Of course, prayer's not answered because it's all fake. I'm going in there, and the pastors are preaching messages, right? They're always coming up with new stuff to say. It's not really new. It's kind of regurgitated information. They kind of just say the same things over and over. They read the same stories over and over. And so they would say something like, you'll come around this at some point in church, and they'll say, the reason God isn't answering your prayers is because you have unrepented sin. Another thing they might say is, God's not answering your prayers because you might have a demon, or you have a place of unforgiveness, or you are lacking faith. So then it creates a phobia. So I noticed when I quit smoking, the withdrawals are actually worse when I try to replace the withdrawals and try to numb the withdrawals with something else. So this would be like sugar, right? So then I'm eating so much sugar, and I've actually noticed it this time, but I was so desperate to quit. I was like, I'm getting a bag of gum, and I'm chewing this gum whenever, because I was like, I got to keep working and everything like that. I can't be thinking about smoking right now. I don't want to get grumpy, right? I don't want to have to go through the withdrawals. But now I'm spacing it more and more, cutting back on the sugar. Now we're in week 2 of me quitting nicotine. And I was realizing, I was like, okay, so this is actually keeping the addiction going, right? Like this is actually keeping it going. Like this is creating like a phobia in my head. And then I thought about it, and it's not 100% relates to it, but I think I was like, this makes sense. If you're constantly telling yourself something, oh, I have a demon, or oh, I have unrepentant sin, like over and over, it starts to create a program in the brain. And I was like, I'm seeing how programs work, and once you're in an addiction, it can create like a phobias too, where it's like, oh, like what if I'm not going to be able to, I'm going to be on the airplane, oh man, I'm not going to be able to smoke for like 4 hours or something like that. When I get down, oh no, I'm going to hide it from this person. Like it's creating all these like phobias. And I was thinking, like, if this person is going there and they're constantly telling themselves this, like, oh, I can't get this, I probably have a demon, it's actually going to create some kind of fantasy in their brain. So when these people are acting like, ah, blah, blah, they're like, they're going like, they sound like Gollum or something. They sound like an orc from Lord of the Rings. They're like, blah, 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 like over and over. Actually, something did get created in their brain. Now, I say, no, one of Joel's sayings is, human is God and God is human. So it's like, okay, so when all these people come together and they're like showing this person love, it actually does get rid of the phobia. They're focusing on it. The people are sending intention. They're sending. Now this is where I get a little woo-woo spiritual. I'm like, whatever. I'm isolated from human beings. I know what it's like to have some love in my life, and then I know what it's like to be completely isolated, like I am now. And it's like I'm literally dying right now from lack of like human connection right now. And like lack of like even having a girlfriend would make me like fine, like having just a couple friends, like having some kind of community would solve a lot of my depression and anxiety and just like stress that's on me and everything like that. But I don't have that right now, so that's why I was like, oh, human is God and God is human. When they talk, and the Bible talks about being in the presence of God, so you're in the presence of other humans, right? And of course they have to be good ones, right? Like, you can't just be around any type of person. Like, sometimes I'll be like, I'd rather be alone. Like, I'll get off work and I'm like, I'd rather be alone than be around these people, right? But it's like you have all these people coming together, setting intention. So this is something that they're setting an intention of healing on the person. And the person actually has created a phobia in their brain, right? So this is something where it's like all the people are gathered together. They're all focusing their attention and energy. Where attention goes, energy flows. And it actually does remove that program. The person's like, oh, it's gone. So yeah, the dude was freaking me, and 4 other dudes were having like a prayer meeting at this house in Pensacola, Florida. And the one dude, like, as we're all praying, we're taking turns praying, just saying whatever, and then one dude starts freaking out, like a demon is manifesting in him. And 2 guys are holding him down. Another dude's trying to call the pastor to get him to come over and exorcise the demon. Then I stand up, and I hadn't joined in at this point because I was like, something seems off here. Something seemed off to me in my gut. I was like, even back then, before my whole spiritual awakening with the ayahuasca, I was like, I already had, like, I could already, like, sense stuff. Like, I could already sense stuff. Something was off. But anyway, I stood up. I said, shut up. Stop hurting him. And then he finally shut up because he was, like, screaming for, like, 10 minutes or something. Maybe it could have been, like, 1 or 2 minutes. But it was so, like, death-curdling, like screaming. I was like, come out of him in Jesus' name. And then he, like, calmed down. And, like, the guys didn't have to keep holding him down anymore. And he was like, he said, oh, that was a demon of arrogance that came out of me. At first he said, oh, Joel, it was you. Joel, it was you. You're the one who did it. And then later on he was like, no, it was like everybody was joining in. So I was like, I don't really know. I don't really care. I think this is all a bunch of BS. I think we're all making this stuff up. once again, it comes back to the addiction. The addiction creates the problems, then it is the solution, right? So it's like, oh, I'm starting to have like suicidal thoughts. I'm starting to have like, and I've had this too coming off nicotine. Oh, like no girls like me. Oh, I can't get my job done. Oh, I'm too tired, blah, blah, all this kind of stuff. I smoke the thing. It all goes away. Oh, you're an awesome dude. Oh man, it's okay. You'll get another girl like you. Oh, you know, your job's great. I'm thankful for my job. Oh, but I love myself. Like all this stuff starts coming in. It's like, and it's the same thing. You'll hear them say the same stuff. They'll say this, oh, Jesus just makes me feel such peace. Oh, I just feel so much better now. Oh, Lord, give me peace, blah, blah. It's not like, oh, help me solve my problems. Oh, help me get this stuff handled. You know, it's like, oh, I'm just supposed to be happy and content with whatever I have. Now, that's something I'm trying to figure out there is because, yeah, everyone just tells me you're supposed to be happy and content with whatever you have. And I'm like, literally, my life is killing me. And I'm like, that's why I'm wanting to quit these substances. And even me making this video, like, I've had time, like, where I keep having breaks where I'll have, weeks go by and I won't make one video. I won't work on any kind of project or any kind of side hustle or any other ways to make money. And it's because I'm just contenting myself with the smoke, with a drink, with weed. And before I was doing kratom for a while. So and honestly, I'm noticing these things are causing me health issues too. So, but they're also keeping me stuck in life. They're keeping me from being desperate. They're keeping me from being like living with a sense of urgency and like a sense of like, okay, I gotta get this stuff done because like this hurts, and I'm not gonna keep using substances to relieve this pain. I'm going to, do these things to get myself out of the situation, right? So I feel like that's the same way with Christianity. It's like, I'm not going to face the fact that I'm single and I should be having a relationship. I'm on pace. I'm getting this sense of dread that like if I continue on the same path, like I'm going to be single for the rest of my life. So instead of handling the things that would get you not being single, right? Then they're just praying to God, right? And then, of course, all the Christians are going to come along and say, oh, well, I met my wife in church. Oh, I met my wife in church. I'm like, okay, but that doesn't work for everybody, right? And then you just, like, this was just kind of handed to you. Like, people just kind of set it up. And I would see how those marriages would happen in the church. And it's like, hey, that's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, I wish we had a community like that, though, that wasn't Christianity, right? That wasn't worshiping an evil demon that is, like, completely anti-human. That is a mockery of the human. That's what the Yahweh Christian God is. It's a mockery of the human. But I hope that makes sense. I hope that kind of gets some wheels turning. Like when you see this kind of stuff, like these people literally, they're the witchcraft users. Like they're the ones doing the stuff. Like it created that phobia in the kid's brain that, oh, I'm arrogant or whatever. And then it like came out and then it's like a demon or whatever. And it's like, this is weird, dude. Like, but at the same time, it's like, if something like that ever did happen, it's like all it would take would be people sending love and saying, like speaking in authority to that program, saying, hey, this isn't you. This is something that's like latched on you. Like, this isn't who you really are. And I had this happen when I was on the ayahuasca where I was starting to like trip out and freak out. And I was like, I'm like tripping. I'm like out of control. But it's like, I'm in here, but I'm like throwing punches at the shaman. I'm like, I was kind of harmless. Like it was pretty harmless. But at the same time, I was still like trying to hit him and stuff. And it was scary. And they didn't take it personal. Like they just showed me love, and I got through it. What was coming was going, right? And I feel like that's kind of what was happening with the dude with the demon was what was coming was going. Like, and it was just like you just like speaking to it and like saying, resist this thing, like say no to this, And I have to do that to myself coming off the nicotine. I have to do that with other things in my life too, where it's like, oh, I just want to lay in bed and just look at my phone and play this little game or just scroll or something. It's like, no, like I'm going to resist this and I'm going to go to sleep, or or it's in the morning. I need to get out of bed and like get on with my day. So that's kind of where I'm at with those things. I hope that makes sense. I hope this kind of helps some people who are still kind of like in doubt, like if this is real or if this is good or bad, or like this is some weird stuff. Like once you kind of go into some weird stuff happens, right? Like when I've called tarot card readers or when I've talked to, energy healers or whatever, some weird stuff happens. They say some stuff that they shouldn't say. They shouldn't know, right? Some weird stuff happens, but that's because I went there. And honestly, being out of it, I felt, even like the new age stuff, right? Like I have felt less anxiety just like staying away from that. Staying away from the readings and the readers and the tarot card readers and the Reiki and all that kind of stuff. Like I feel better because it's kind of like, it's like a giving of your power away. It's like, oh, like this kind of spirit demon or whatever, this thing can latch on to me and this thing can take my power away from me or whatever, right? And it's like, that's giving your power. That's actually what is creating it in the first place, is like your belief of that. Like if you believe in it, like it kind of makes it real, is what I'm seeing. So that's what I'm trying to work on in myself. That's why I'm doing this Aboga coming up, you know, for myself, is, you know, I'm flying somewhere, doing it legally, doing it in a place that's controlled, like they're a well-renowned place. I'm doing it because I want to get rid of more programming in my brain, like in my subconscious. I want to like clear more of that stuff out that are like limiting things, because I'm starting to realize like, hey, I actually have good intentions. I have good intentions with my music. I have good intentions with my videos. You know, I have good intentions for my friends, and I love, you know, the United States, and I want to help people. I want to have good conversations, and I want to share my original ideas that I have and points of view that I have. I want to share these things, and I just have all this kind of crap like holding me back. And some of it is kind of physical. Some of it is pretty physical, actually, you know, and I'm like, I want to heal. Like I want to heal this kind of stuff, and yeah, I just want to be clean for like a year. So that's kind of my intention. I do one of the senses of urgency that I have right now is that, you know, this could backfire, right? And it could set me back, actually. So I was like, I definitely want to get some videos done and start getting things posted before I go and do this. That's how careful I am with the psychedelics, right? At this point now, after what happened with the ayahuasca, was that, you know, hey, I want to make sure that I'm like good, like I got like something rolling, right? Like, okay, like I'm gonna have to recover from this retreat. At least I know I got videos being posted up right now, so while I'm recovering, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like with my current state, I'm trying to figure out like what direction I want to go. So this is just something like my way of doing that. So hope you liked the video. You know, go ahead and shoot some comments, give me some more ideas, things to talk about. Challenge me, please challenge me, because that gives me more ideas for videos, and it gives me, you know, more things to cover. And I'm really just here to, you know, be the Morpheus to your Neo and say like, this is a bunch of BS. Like, I want to have a happier world. I want to have a more connected world. I want to have a more united population. I want to have like community, and this is just my way of, you know, I just want to be my real self, right? I don't want to fake anymore. So anyway.